Bandwidth for First Updates Now is supported by AndyMark. Are you competition ready? Go to andymark.com and keep your team inspired. And by the Blue Alliance. Keep up to date on all live and archived First Robotics events and team stats at thebluealliance.com. First Updates Now is brought to you by viewers like you. Fun relies on the generous support of our fans in order to continue to keep creating content. Please consider donating, giving bits, or subscribing. Subscribe for a few bucks a month or for free through Twitch Prime. And don't forget that our subscribers get 5x chance to win on all giveaways.
Howdy, y'all, and welcome to the show where we don't know anything about 30 below. It's the Southern Fried Region Recap. Giving you the lowdown for First Updates Now, my name is John Fogarty.
I'm Ben Sterling.
I'm Sky Leak.
And I'm Catherine Tice.
Week 2 in the South saw competitions heat up quite a bit as we had 7 competitions happening simultaneously across the region. We saw some new strategies being employed by teams, and we had a world-first occurrence in one of our matches. We've got a lot of ground to cover this week, so without further ado, let's get right into the recaps. The North Carolina Pitt County event saw 34 teams hit the arcade for the first event of the season in the North Carolina district. At the end of the qualifying rounds, 2 alliances destined for greatness were formed. The first seed alliance was captained by Team 4561 the Terabytes. Their first pick was Team 5190 the Green Hope Falcons, and their second pick was Team 5607 Team Firewall. This alliance blasted their way through the quarters and semis without a single loss, and then faced off against the third seeded alliance, captained by Team 2059 the Hitchhikers. The first pick, 2642 Pitt Pirates, and their second pick, 6215, the Armored Eagles. An alliance that similarly blasted through the quarters and semis to stand on the other side of the glass in the finals. The finals round were pretty close, but in the end, the third seed alliance upset the first seed to take home the Pitt County District Event Championship. Congrats to teams 2655, the Flying Platypi, their District Event Chairman's Award win, and 2682, Boneyard Robotics, in winning the Engineering Inspiration Award. Now, next we head down the coast to the Orlando Regional for our featured event of the week, where 64 teams took to the field to compete at the UCF Arena. The event was host to a lot of competitive teams, and we definitely got to see some high-level action early on in the event. Just a statistic that's much lower at a lot of events, there were 7 unicorn matches that took place during the course of the event. Now, for those of you that don't know, a unicorn match is where an alliance does the auto quest, they win the match, and they also get the Face the Boss challenge all in one match. And that's pretty impressive because it doesn't happen nearly that often. And then, of course, they were just some plain awesome teams in general. One of my favorites was Team 1902, Exploding Bacon, who during the qualifying matches not only had a multi-cube auto that worked very well, but they completed the auto quest in every single match they played in during the qualification rounds. Now, having been to Orlando and seeing them firsthand in competition before, I know they have an army of programmers willing to help teams at events that they're attending. Their auto quest success rate helped them secure a lot of ranking points so that they seeded 5th even when they had an overall 4-4 ranking after the 4-4 record after the qualification rounds. Next was Team 59 Ramtech, who had one of the most effective double reverse 4-bar designs I've seen with a pincher mounted on top, and they deserved that #1 ranking at the end of the rounds. Then there was Team 179 Children of the Swamp, who in my eyes was one of the most consistent performers of the event. They had a multi-cube autonomous prepared and ready for both the switch and the scale by their first match in qualification round 3. And their robot was one of a very small number of wing triple lift capable designs that netted them a lot of ranking points during their qualification rounds. Now, at the end of qualification rounds, Ramtech seeded first, and they chose a shooting offensive powerhouse in Team 180 Spam as their first pick, and rounded things out with 5145 Team Wolfbotics. Their alliance cruised through the quarterfinals and was only momentarily slowed by the 5th seed alliance in the semis. The only challenge left was the finals, where they were met by the number 2 seeded alliance of 179 Children of the Swamp, 4481 the Rembrandts, and 3653 the Bobcats. The finals was largely a battle for the scale, as we saw 178 and 4451 battle 180 and 59 to see who could control the scale for the longest period of time. In the end, number 2 seed proved to be too much for the number 1 seed, as they outscored them with scores of over 400 points. And the number 2 seed ended up taking home the Orlando Regional Championship. I also want to congratulate Team 7044 Shark Attack on their Engineering Inspiration Award win, and Team 1902 Exploding Bacon on yet another Chairman's Award win. In my belief, the Champions Chairman's Award this year might smell a little bit more like bacon than ever before. How are the events you watched this week, Catherine?
Yes, my events were great. We got to see a lot of really great teams take the field for the first time in Little Rock, Arkansas. So, as we jump into the action, we really got a great match early on in the quals match number 4, where we see Team 16, the Bomb Squad, and Team 3310, Blackhawk Robotics, together, and they delivered just a stunning performance. They had a ton of cubes scored, and they just had a very early double climb for this event. It was a really great match. It was one of the best matches that I've seen so far this year, and it was just really early in quals, and it was pretty indicative of how the entire event, the rest of the event went. And we just saw the same pattern of 16 and 3310 and a couple of other strong players like 323, Lights Out, 3937, Breakaway, where they had these just really consistent getting the cubes on the scale with the switch and auto early, getting the consistent climbs they needed, and just really ranking high, seeding high, and dominating the competition. So when quals ended, it was 3310 on the top, first seed, and 16 right behind them. But we also had a couple other people throw into the mix. So Team Boss 6005, they have a really interesting robot, an all sheet metal West Coast drive, but they also had just an amazingly consistent climber, and so it gave them a really strong edge, and they were able to seed 5th with all those extra ranking points. Now the first seed alliance of 3310, 16, and 7123 had a really strong opening in the quarters, knocking off the 8th seed alliance of 3039, 6647, and 1818. Now it was a pretty clean sweep. It was just a very standard match. All the robots were competing well, competing strongly, but the cube throughput of the first alliance was just a lot higher, and they were just able to take those 2 matches. But in the semis were really the first bump in the road for that powerhouse alliance of 3310 and 16. So 323, 6055, and 3337 were able to take a match off of that first seed alliance by doing some really impressive management of the switches and the exchange, and they were able to capitalize off of some really big fouls given up by the first seed alliance. So even though we saw 3310 and 16 just dominating throughout the quals and throughout the first round, during the quarters, just a little bit of misses, little slips, a little bit here and there, and some fouls led to a win for the Blue Alliance. But after that, semis, match 2 and 3, they just weren't able to keep up. 16 and 3310 were just able to score more cubes. They were able to get to them to the switch and the scale a lot faster. They were always, their cycle times are basically 5 seconds faster every time they did something, and they were just able to just score a lot more points and just win. This trend continued. Team Breakaway, they seeded 3rd, and they were able to captain the second alliance, but the finals were more the same story. Just nobody at this event could really compete or live up to that same cube throughput of 3310 and 16. But it was some really exciting matches. I think we'll get to see a lot of these teams again, and we'll get to see a lot of these play develop. But this event was all about 3310 and 16. But there were also some really highlights near the end of it. So it was really enjoyable to see Team 4400, the Robotics from Torreon, Mexico. They got to win the Regional Chairman's Award. I'm really looking forward to seeing what they're going to be able to do from that, and seeing them in the future. There was not a name I knew before, and so I'm excited to see them. Also, 7106, the MPV Stinger Bots out of Mulberry, Arkansas, a local team, won the Rookie All-Star Award. And I'm so excited to see them do well and to succeed as they're just, a really young team and do well in their first year of competition. So, rolling on down to Hub City, Sky will be bringing us the news from what went on down there.
Thanks, Catherine. Bad pun. All right. 42 teams fought it out in Lubbock, Texas for the right to form some competitive alliances for limbs. After 74 grueling qualification matches, the usual suspects shook out of the mix to wind up on top. 1619, Upper Creek Robotics of Longmont, Colorado, managed a very respectable ranking score of 3.0 over 11 matches. This was a full half point above the nearest contender. 1619 chose to offer partnership with another out-of-state team, 846, the Funky Monkeys of San Jose, California. The comparably local team of 4610, Beartex, hailing from Bastrop, Texas. For the number one alliance, playoffs were a breeze, pulling off winning margins of over 100 points, with some matches having some score differentials of well over 300. The first final matches for the number one alliance versus the number three alliance of 6672 Fusion Core, who is already experienced at this game, by the way, having played in Dallas the week prior, the hometown team of 1817 Llano Estacado Robo Raiders, and 2657 Team Thundercats. The number one alliance took the first match easily, posting a score of 458 to the number three alliance's 245. Then we had a close call match. 1619 had an autonomous fail, dropping the cube outside of the field, while the number three alliance managed a powerful enough auto to pull ahead heading into teleop. 1817 of the number three alliance played some shutdown, albeit not penalty-free, defense against the Funky Monkeys and Upper Creek Robotics. This left 6672 of the number three alliance free to control the scale for the majority of the match. The number three alliance played a well-timed force power-up, which contributed to keep the score to a nail-biter, with the number three alliance squeezing out an apparent victory in the finals over the number one alliance. After the official scores were posted, the number one alliance of 1619, 846, and 4610 squeaked out by a margin of 374 to 371, a 3-point winning margin of the last match of the event. This is the smallest we have seen this year, beating out FIM's own minuscule winning match margin of 4 points in Traverse City last week. Congratulations to Upper Creek Robotics for the Chairman's Award Kling Bling, to 418 Purple Haze for the Engineering Inspiration win, and a huge shout out to rookie team 6800, who not only managed to pull a Rookie All-Star Award out of the hat, but fielded two Dean's List Award finalists. The 6800 Viperbot Spallers, obviously a rookie team that got it right and should be on everyone's radar from here on out.
Wow.
Up to Central Virginia, we saw some tight competition as 37 teams jostled for the top spots. After 12 matches, there was only half a ranking score difference between the number one seed of 1262, the Stags, and the 8th seed. 1262 picked up the 6th ranked team, Sparky 384, and 5957 Cat 5 Cybercanes. This number one alliance would find themselves shooting through the quarters, then powering down through a rubber match versus the number four alliance of 1599, 6882, and 3136 before running into the brick wall of the classic 1v2 matchup. The number two alliance of 346, the Robohawks, 1610, Blackwater Robotics, and 401, Copperhead Robotics, played two decisive matches versus the number one. With their prowess on the scale in both autonomous and teleop proving to be the decisive factor in both finals matches, through some miracle, both final matches were free of fouls, a seriously impressive feat this season. Congratulations to the number two alliance on their win. Also, 1086 Blue Cheese ran away with the Chairman's Award. Again, this marks the 9th Chairman's Award for 1086 in program history. 339 Kilroy Robotics had the Engineering Inspiration Award nailed down, and 6802 Mean Caymans pulled down the high-seeded rookie from the 4th ranked spot, as well as the Rookie All-Star. What hard-hitting news is coming out of Peachtree, Ben?
You know, we had quite a bit going on here at the Dalton event. It was a blast with a lot of funny moments, including quite a few tip-overs, and one of my favorite things of the entire season. During match 41, Team 7046 Auto was trying to score a power cube on the scale when they had an encoder malfunction, causing their lift to shoot straight up, go right through the hard stops, and eject itself straight out of the top of the robot. The lift got stuck on the scale, and when they tried to back up, the mechanism tumbled over right onto the floor. It was definitely my highlight of the season, and I really do enjoy seeing some robot carnage. Another highlight of the event was the first triple climb, which was during match 12. This is not only the first triple climb in the Peachtree District, but it's also likely the last, unfortunately. But it was a super simple design by 3581 that allowed teams 4910 and 6341 to climb right onto its sides. Nothing moving, nothing complicated, just two simple bars. It was a great example of how sometimes the simplest of designs can also be the most successful. Now, taking home the blue banner as the winners of the event was the First Seed Alliance, captained by 4910 East Cop Robotics. Also in the Alliance was the first pick of 6705 Wildcat 5E, who was also a finalist last week at Gainesville, and their second pick of 1771, the Electric Phoenixes. Now, our Chairman's Award winner was 2974 Walton Robotics, who has now won Chairman's all 3 years of the Dalton event. And overall, this is Walton's 6th consecutive year winning the Chairman's Award. So it came as absolutely no surprise that they won it again at Dalton this year. Engineer Inspiration Award was taken home by Team 1002, the Circuit Runners. It was somewhat of an unexpected winner, but they definitely deserved it nonetheless. Their autonomous was quite impressive. Now, moving on to the Chesapeake District's Greater DC event. This is the district's third event of the season with 38 teams competing. At the end of the qualification rounds, 2 alliances shined above the rest. Those were the First Seed Alliance, captained by 225, and the Third Seed Alliance, captained by 1731, who was also finalist last week at the Northern Virginia event. In the end, Team 1731 took the victory with their first pick of Team 1885 and second pick of 4456. Now, 1885 not only were they on the winning alliance, but they also took home the Chairman's Award, giving them that double gold cling bling. Also, congratulations to 5243 for their Engineering Inspiration Award win. Now, one thing I noticed a lot this season was a lot of penalty points. Some by accident, like robot parts falling outside of 16 inches, like Auto earlier with their whole lift falling over, and some partially on purpose, like hitting a robot in that null zone. Let me down in the chat what y'all think of penalties, but Sky, why don't we start with you? What do you think about the penalties this season?
Well, you have to remember out of the gate, though, that scores can't really be compared to previous years. So we can't make a perfect comparison to previous seasons. But they're seemingly managed to equal each other out in the cleaner of the matches, if I can make that comparison, where red and blue find they're tagged for about the same amount of foul points. I'm just worried that Einstein will be determined by some dumb foul this year.
I don't think anybody wants to watch that happen, but yeah, all of our high scores, our world high scores so far are coming from, robots getting stuck under the scale. They're giving ownership points and they're getting tech fouls all match long. So that's where, that's the big ones that we're all seeing. But, there's also some fouling issues, maybe with hurting or bulldozing cubes. We may see these get worked out via either a team update or a rules change, or just sort of a change in how First decides to ref and to call those fouls. But I don't think it's a huge issue like things were like in 2014 or things. I think we're just seeing some pretty funny matches with some absurdly high scores coming from them.
Yeah. And I honestly think that the margins of victory right now are wider than most of the penalty totals we're seeing. But as things move along into like the championship weekends with district champs and obviously Houston and Detroit, it's going to be interesting to see the percent total of matches that are decided by penalties because of how they can really accumulate really quickly. So it'll be interesting to see how that ends up come later on in the season. Now, starting out new this week, we're going to reveal the top 10 teams voted on in the FRC Top 25 poll from the Southern region. And to start things off, I'm going to give you, counting down from number 10 in the Southern region, and it was Team 1731 Fresta Valley Robotics Club. Number 9, 1480 Ve Victus. Number 8, 116 Epsilon Delta. Number 7, 624 Kryptonite. Number 6, 1885 iLight Robotics. 59 Ramtech came in at number 5. 180 Spam, their first pick from Orlando, came in at number 4. 3310 16's partner came in at number 3. 179 Children of the Swamp, one of the Orlando regional winners, at number 2. And of course, number 1 this week from the Southern region is Bomb Squad. Now, I just want to go around and see if teams didn't make this list. Who do you think deserves a spot on this list, Ben?
So I'm surprised they didn't make it on there, but Team 7046 Auto is one of my favorite robots out there. Besides their unplanned automatic disassembly of their lift at their last competition, their robot has been performing exceptionally well. They had no trouble scoring on the scale or the switch and have proven to be very consistent anywhere on the field. But Sky, what would your pick be?
I have to go with the obvious choice of 1619 Upper Creek Robotics. Once they ironed out some of the initial driver jitters and any, well, yeah. So once they ironed stuff out, things went real well for them. What do you think, John?
I think that my pick would have to be 179 Children of the Swamp. Their execution of their triple lifter and their cube handling abilities will get them really far in this season, and I bet Swamp will be in a mix for the Einstein appearance from Florida this year. What about you, Catherine? Oh.
I've got to give my vote to 16 Bomb Squad. It was really fun watching them compete this week. They had a really agile swerve, and they had a powerful elevator that let them tower over the competition. They also had a unique double climb that a lot of people weren't really sure if it was going to be effective, but it proved it worked pretty well this week. So I think they're a strong team that has a lot of potential this year.
So coming up this week in the Peachtree District for the previews of next week, we've got the Albany event where 26 teams are going to come take to the field to battle it out in the arcade. Teams that I think you should pay attention to at this week's event are teams like 1648 G3 Robotics, 1260 Fun, Robo Lions, 1683, 4468 Fernbank Lynx, and 6829 Ignite Robotics. Teams are going to get to play a lot of matches at this event, so we're going to really get to see who built a solid, robust machine by the time finals rolls around.
So I'll actually be taking next week off to attend the FTC Super Regional, but you can be sure that I'll be watching the action, seeing what comes down seeing what great matches happen down here in the South.
I have the Hampton Roads event, which will see many of the top-notch teams that have come out of the woodwork in the Chesapeake Bay area over the past 2 weeks. A personal favorite, 2363 Triple Helix will be there, as will finalists at Central Virginia 5957, the winners of Central Virginia 1610. We also have event winners at Northern Virginia, Team 422. Ben, what are we looking at in Northern Alabama?
So I'll be headed over to Huntsville, Alabama for the Rocket City Regional. It's definitely one of my favorite events the whole season. This year there's 46 teams competing, including 2468 Team Appreciate, one of my favorite names ever. 4451, the Robots Garage, which is one of my favorite pits ever. I don't know why more teams don't copy them. It's beautiful. And then a rookie team I've been helping this season, Team 7072 Ogre. So like always, I expect to see a lot of cool teams, a lot of cool matches, and it's definitely going to be a fun event.
I have to get 4451 to show me how to build a pit like theirs one day. My new team needs like a giant castle somehow. We used to have one, but we haven't been able to rebuild it yet. Well,
for 1 week, can we just do like top 25 pits in FRC? Like, who cares about robots? Who cares
I support it.
Just pits.
Top 25 pits coming to you soon. Well, that's all we have for tonight. Thank you for everyone who's watched us this evening. If you'd like to get some more First Robotics in your life, and you like what we all do, all that we ask is that you let others know about our show and that this is the place to go for more FRC in the southern region in their lives. If you got a few bucks to share, we appreciate it. But if not, we totally understand. And we're delighted to have you on board. On behalf of myself, Catherine, Ben, and Sky, and of course our producer, Tyler, we would like to thank you all for tuning in. And thank you, of course, to all of our moderators in the chat. Our next show is Intimidation, first in Michigan. Till next week, it's been great seeing you all here on the Southern Fried Region Recap.